I thought I was safe inside my own mind. I thought no one could hear what I truly felt.
The city of Aldrris had not seen an outsider in 40 years. Its obsidian walls rose like black fangs against a violet sky, and at its center, seated on a throne carved from a fallen star, ruled Queen Seraphine, the last of the Mindweavers. Kael had not come here by choice. A storm had shredded his ship 3 days ago. He had washed ashore at the foot of Valdris's cliffs, half drowned, half alive, and dragged into the city by soldiers who looked at him the way a surgeon looks at a problem they are not sure how to solve. Now he stood in the throne room. He had been told 2 things before entering. First, do not speak unless spoken to. Second, do not think anything you would not want the queen to hear. Kael had immediately failed at the second rule. He had looked at Seraphine, tall, sharp-boned, wearing armor like liquid bronze poured over dark skin, her golden eyes lit from behind as though something ancient burned there, and his mind had gone somewhere it had absolutely no business going. She is the most extraordinary thing I have ever seen in my life. He thought it before he could stop it. Loudly, completely, with zero restraint, the court went still. Seraphine, who had been reading a scroll with idle boredom, stopped. Slowly, the way water finds the lowest point of a surface, her golden gaze drifted from the scroll, across the polished floor, and found him. She did not smile. She did not frown. She simply looked at him the way an archer looks at a target, with calm, complete attention. "Step forward," she said. Her voice was low and precise, like a key turning in a lock. Kael stepped forward. He was aware of the silence around him. 40 courtiers, not one of them breathing audibly. He was also aware, painfully, that he was still wearing salt-crusted fishing clothes and had dried seaweed in his hair. "You are the shipwrecked man," she said. "Yes, your grace. You come from the outer settlements." "Yes." She tilted her head slightly. "And yet you walked into my throne room thinking thoughts that most decorated generals would not dare whisper in a tavern after 3 cups of wine." The heat that rose up Kael's neck could have warmed a small house through winter. "I apologize, your grace. I was told not to think anything I wouldn't want you to hear. I failed immediately." Something moved in her expression. Not quite a smile, but the ghost of one, passing through and leaving no trace. "At least you are honest about the failure." She set down her scroll. "Most men lie. They stand before me thinking something they consider inappropriate, and then they spend the next 3 minutes thinking furiously about stone walls and tax reports, hoping to bury the original thought." "Does it work?" Kael asked, genuinely curious. "No," she said simply. "The first thought is always the loudest." The court remained frozen. No one spoke when the queen was in the middle of an interrogation. Kael suspected no one had ever responded to her the way he just had, with questions. He also suspected he was about to be executed. Instead, she rose from the throne. Seraphine descended the 3 wide steps with the kind of ease that comes not from training, but from total ownership of a space. She crossed the floor toward him, and the room seemed to compress around her movement, the way water displaces when something significant moves through it. She stopped 2 feet from him. This close, he could see the faint silver markings along her jaw. Mindweaver runes, etched at birth, activated at adulthood. He could see the tiredness around her eyes that her composure carefully framed as authority. "You are afraid," she said quietly. "Not of me. Of how honest you were." Kael held her gaze. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I don't take things back once I've meant them," he said. And I meant it. There it was again, that ghost of something moving across her face. But this time it stayed a half-second longer. Her voice dropped so only he could hear it. The throne room, the courtiers, the polished stone and the burning torches, All of it fell away as she leaned the smallest degree closer and whispered, "You meant every word." It was not a question. It was not an accusation. It was something rarer than either recognition. A queen who had spent 20 years reading minds, hearing every lie before it was finished, every false loyalty before it was sworn, every hollow declaration of devotion. She had just heard something she had not encountered in a long, long time. A thought that was clean all the way through. No hidden room behind it. No strategy. Just one human being seeing another and thinking, simply and completely, extraordinary. Kael exhaled slowly. "I know it was not appropriate." "No," she agreed. "It was not." She straightened. Something in her posture had shifted, infinitesimally, but he felt it. Less like a queen examining an inconvenience, and more like a person standing next to something that surprised them. "You will stay in Valdris until your ship can be repaired." "How long will that take?" "As long as it takes," she said, and turned back toward her throne. She did not look back. But at the foot of the first step, she paused, just for a breath, and he could have sworn the edge of her mouth curved. Kael stood in the middle of the throne room, surrounded by 40 wide-eyed courtiers, wearing disaster clothes, with seaweed in his hair. And for the first time in a very long time, the Queen of Valdris had someone she was not entirely sure she had figured out yet. For a Mindweaver who had heard every thought before it was finished, that was perhaps the rarest thing in the world. And she intended to find out what else lived behind those unguarded eyes.